Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today we're talking with two of our favorites, Tessa Thompson, of course, a former AAFCA Best Supporting Actress winner, along with director Nia DaCosta, about their new Amazon Prime movie, HEDDA. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members on the call today, starting with Michael Sowell in Washington, D.C., Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Canada, Karan Noah Kelly in Charlottesville, Virginia, Evan Jackson in Los Angeles, Reggie Powner in Chicago, Illinois, Derek Dunn in Washington, D.C., Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, and Catalina Combs, also in L.A. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
That's a beautiful introduction.
I know, so gorgeous.
I've heard so much about you, Mrs. Tesman.
HEDDA is fine. What have you heard?
That before you were domesticated, you were like fire.
Could you tell us the events of the evening up to the incident?
HEDDA,
Yes?
this is what you wanted, isn't it? Money and the house, the party.
Charming. I love your flower thing.
Nothing can go wrong tonight, HEDDA. Nothing.
Eileen. Why did you come here? To make sure I didn't love you.
You sing
What?
on edge.
HEDDA, darling, what are you up to? You'll see. You're not leaving, are you? Best to resist temptation. Oh, come on, Eileen. You're stronger than that.
What has got into you?
Sometimes I can't help myself.
Jesus, these people.
Why are you like this? What are you so afraid of?
I hope you're happy.
Don't I look happy?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Michael Sowell from Washington, D.C. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. First, congratulations with this film. I had the privilege of seeing this at the Toronto International Film Festival, and definitely was one of my favorites. This film places women in the center rather than following the traditional male-dominated hierarchy. With that shift, my question is for both of you. How did that allow you to say about the agency of desire and the cost of conformity, especially in this mid-century era, and how do you see those themes resonating today?
I like this multi-tiered essay question. I'm like, ooh, let's go.
Thank you. I'm well prepared.
Yeah, I mean, the play had it was about, or it's Hedda Gabler, it's about Hedda, and it's her and these three men around her who kind of represent different elements of her psyche in a way, and then Thea's is foil to her. But I really wanted to have another strong female foil, and that's why Eilert Lovborg, her former lover, unconsummated potentially in the play, becomes Eileen. And by doing that, we have this really strong three-woman center of the piece that really gives us so much dimension and so many places to explore this question of the cost of conformity and what it turns you into when you're told that you actually don't deserve agency or power, that your freedoms are limited. And that's something I think about a lot, like what does freedom actually look like? And so it's really fun to explore that through the lens of Hedda, and in particular through the lens of these three women, Hedda, Thea, and Eileen.
Yeah, similarly, I think what Nia's done is set these three women on parallel pathways to personhood, but in very, very different ways. And I think also gets to interrogate the things that we're told as women that are assets, like what we can use actually to gain to gain a sense of self and agency, and sometimes the polarity of those things, that if we're someone that uses sort of our feminine wiles, we also cannot be someone who can use our our brain. And I think you sort of see that expressed, you sort of see the duality of that expressed between Hedda and Eileen, I think, a lot in the piece.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for not pulling no punches with this film. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies. Carolyn for Carolyn Toss YouTube and podcast channel. Congratulations on the film. I'm not familiar with the stage play, so this film is my presentation to the lore and mythology of Hedda, as you say.
I love it.
So I want to actually kind of go off of Michael's comment with regards to conformity, but I want to look at it with regards more to the costume design of this film and how I think it actually kind of functions as a messaging of that, because Hedda she's a woman who wants to be her own woman, but the way she goes about it is by destroying relationships with the people in her lives. And I thought the costume design for Hedda is very interesting in this film, because she starts out the film in a red dress, bright red, these super high black stilettos. But in the ballroom, in the majority of the film, she's wearing this green dress that kind of like blends her into the background. Instead of being the forefront visually, instead of being the person to gather attention that way, she kind of blends into the background of the film. And I thought it was interesting that she kind of matches Thea in that way, because Thea's dress actually blends into the background. Thea's like the wood grain of the house, and Hedda is the wallpaper. So I want you both to talk about how Hedda's costuming actually reflects how she wants to be at the forefront, but she doesn't know how to. She kind of still blends into this atmosphere that she's trying to get away from. So we can begin with you, Nia, and like your discussion with costume designer Lindsay Pugh, and like Tessa, like just having the costuming kind of informed how you played Hedda.
Yeah, I mean, that really, the color of the dress in during the party came from sort of, we talked a lot about like rotten fruit and spoiled things, and the paint color in the house is also a similar green, and we thought that was just a really interesting way to show more of Hedda's character. And the thing that I love about that dress is actually it takes up more space than anyone else's dress who's at the party. Like, she has a very distinctive shape. So I don't know if she blends in so much as she matches the environment that she herself also created. And it wasn't about her trying to be invisible so much as it was about her, like, you're entering her space. So this is, so she is of the house, even though, as we know, she didn't really give a shit about the house. But yeah, like, I think you can talk more about the dress, but for me, what I loved about it was that it was kind of daring in its own way. It is have that low V, it's corseted, it has a big circumference.
Yeah, huge circumference, which actually, interestingly, over the course of the evening, the dress minimizes in size. So we had different versions of the dress where she sort of deflates over the course of the evening. I also thought that there was something sort of like chameleon-like about Hedda. So this idea of her being able to traverse spaces, to not to blend in, but to be invisible when she needs to be, and then to be hyper visible when she needs to be. Yeah. In terms of the construction of the dress, we were really interested in that sort of new Dior silhouette, which was so popular in the 50s, which I think a lot had to do with this sort of post-war kind of women get back into their places. And I think the way that that's expressed in costume, and then just the boning of the dress, the expectations on women during that time, I started to look up some of the waist sizes of Hollywood actresses just because I was curious. And they were jarring. I mean, some were like 20-inch waist. They were so tiny, some of these women, so small. And I was really ambitious at the time. I was like, I really want to get my waist size down as much as I can when we were constructing the dress so that we could try to do this new Dior silhouette and have it be really aggressive. And then I thought, this isn't sustainable because I like bread and things. And two, I thought there was something really interesting actually about this dress not fitting too comfortably on her. This idea of me, Tessa, also navigating space in this dress that was just incredibly tight and restrictive. And also this sort of necklace, which actually would have been kind of daring to wear at the time, just this feeling of not being able to really catch a full breath. And I think that sort of echoes the use of breath in the score, that sometimes it's the breath. For me, it's sort of that percussive sort of breath sometimes feels like the breath that she can't actually literally take, and the kind of exhale that she can't actually do inside of that dress. But it's one of the great beauties and challenges, I think, of being in a film where you only have one or two costumes, is how do you tell story over time with that? And I think we also did that with the hair, really tell a story particularly about Black female identity at that time through the way that her hair changes over the course of the evening too.
Yeah, I'm in love with the costuming for this film. And I think my favorite shot is the scene where she's frantic and she kind of like, almost as you said, like a chameleon, blends into the background with the teal coat. And I'm just like, she is a chameleon, and then she's also part of the water, the lake. I could go into, but thank you so much for taking the time for speaking to me.
Thank you.
And the score is amazing as well. But thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? Derek Dunn, Reviews and Done. Just a quick question for Nia. So you set this film in the 50s. While writing the script, was there ever a point where you thought about setting it in 2025?
No, never thought about setting it in the modern, in contemporary time. I really wanted it to be period, but I didn't want it to be alien to us. I wanted it to be like a place that we felt that was recognizable, not just inside of a time period, but also inside of like certain tropes, like the murder mystery, the English country house. I wanted people to feel like it was really familiar, but just distant enough that they can maybe lean into the story a bit more. But I think if HEDDA happened today, it would be, the version I would do would be very different and might be slightly more unrecognizable than what we did set in the 50s.
Hi, Evan Jackson from Young, Bold, and Regal. Congratulations, Tessa, on the Critics' Choice Award coming up. Congratulations, Nia, for your recent award at the Chicago International Film Festival. Talk more about your guys' synergy as filmmaker and actor. I compare you guys to Robert De Niro, Scorsese, Coogler, Michael B. Jordan. You guys have a trust within each other, and that translates well on film. More than likely, what was your approach on this film together, it being the third or fourth film you guys done together?
Well, I mean, I love it. I love working with Tessa. I mean, she was the lead of two of my films. My first film, Little Woods, and my God, what a generous, patient soul. Because I'm learning how to do what I'm doing, and she's also trusting and encouraging me to lean into my vision, and so to have that kind of support, and also hopefully support her in a way, even though I feel like I was getting most of it on my first film, is really special. And then on HEDDA, this is like my baby, and also her baby now, and inviting someone into that, I couldn't have thought of a better person. I mean, besides our friendship and our long, term collaboration, she's just a phenomenal actress and an amazing human being. So knowing that I can trust my cast and crew with Tessa as number one is super important, and it means a lot. And then like the Marvels was fun because that was just like, oh, my friend's coming for a day or two to come shoot. It's like it's really fun. So it's nice when we get to have those different modes.
And fun for me to get to see you be on such a large set, and because our first film together we made for $2. Like I paid money to be in that movie. Basically. I'm sure, just with getting us better lunch or something. But so just extraordinary to get to see these huge spaces now that she's occupying and the captain of. And then I think, I love the comparisons, particularly to Ryan Coogler and to Michael B. Jordan. And obviously I have such a profound love and admiration for them as friends and as collaborators as well. And, Mike made Ryan's first film with him as well. And I think one of the parallels in both of our relationships is I know that another sense of pride and with their relationship together is collectively they really usher Black men into spaces that they haven't been in before. And in a similar way with Nia, even on our first film, Little Woods, was a kind of character, a kind of film that you don't typically get to see a young Black woman in the center of those frames. And when I was doing so much investigation and work and research into past productions of HEDDA that have graced the stages and graced screens, something that was so apparent was that there were no women of color in any of these productions. I just couldn't find, I found one production of Hedda Gabler, and I'm sure there have been other ones that are smaller ones, but in none of the archives, so none of the very storied performances of Hedda Gabler or big productions that have been done either in New York or in the UK or globally, frankly. And that was, I don't know, I found it quite surprising, actually. So also this idea of, well, I think for Nia, it was just, I want to cast this person. I want to make this with someone who I trust. This person also happens to be a Black woman. But then what we get to do, which is to also reframe, like, who gets to exist inside of these stories, who gets to take this canonical work and put their own spin on it. And I just feel really grateful to have a collaborator who we get to sort of do that together and continue to insist on Black women getting to do all sorts of things in cinema.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Karan Anwar Kelly with Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. And this film spoke a lot about influence and money and status and protection of that status. So my question to both of you is, when have you conformed to keep your influence or status, or are you in a place where you can honor your ambition?
So you want to know my secrets?
Yes, all of it. And Tessa's accent.
I think there's all conforming. Oh my goodness. You know, I sometimes wish I could conform better. I was such a weird little kid, and I, went to boarding school and private school for a good portion of my life. So I was educated in predominantly white institutions, and conformity was something I thought about. And then you learn that you can't actually conform because you Black. So, it's like, I think, and in a way that was sort of the beginning of my sort of question of like, what does freedom look like? Because actually it was really freeing at that point to be like, oh, like, I'm not ever going to be able to do that. So I'm going to be myself, not just in terms of existing as a Black woman, but also like the things I'm interested in, being a full-on nerd, all those sorts of things. I think not being able to sometimes can free you up to not try, and in doing so, really find yourself. But I think there is working in this industry, I think going to boarding school and predominantly white institutions really helps when you start directing films and you're working at studios that are predominantly white, and how to navigate, because you've learned, as a Black woman, that your voice maybe sounds louder, or people think you talk more than you do, or, you take up more space to people. You really learn what that is. I'm thankful to be at a point in my career, but also a point in just my maturity as a person and my confidence and myself and my ability to own my authority a bit more, that I'm no longer as concerned with, those things, and now I'm sort of like, okay, we don't have time for this. Let's just, let's just move on to the part where you just do what I say, that'd be great. So I think there's always, oh my God, there's always this urge to make your life easier by conforming. But I think something that HEDDA says is it easier to conform actually? Yeah.
Yes. I think in the early part of my career, I wrestled with it a lot. I also think because Hollywood was in a very different place in some ways. So there was a certain level of conformity that frankly was important if you wanted to be a working actor and be able to pay your bills, just with some of the things that were asked of you, not just as a Black woman, but like as a woman, full stop. Before there was conversation around, safety on set, or it was just it was a different time when I was first auditioning. And so I do think that there was a kind of, conformity to how things were done, to like, what was the status quo. And because I wasn't in a position of power in any way, I couldn't interrogate those spaces that I was inside of. So I definitely think that was at play, but I feel there has been change inside of the industry, and B, I have become more interested in also being an agent of change and a certain level of disruption. And so it's been nice to get to think about how to do that in more sustainable ways. And I think building this company, Viva Mod, and beginning to produce in earnest is a response to that, which is to say that there is certain common knowledge about the kind of stories that are possible, the kind of films that travel, the kind of films that should have a bottom line argument that deserve to be in theaters. And I'm trying to build a company that wants to disrupt what some of that common knowledge, pervasive common knowledge, still continues to be. So I'm interested in a lot less conformity, I would say.
I love it. Thank you. And I need that red dress in my life. I need it.
I need that red dress in my life too. I didn't ask for it, which is very silly, and I don't know where it is. Where is it?
It's in London.
Okay. I need it. Oh, I should wear it to one thing.
Monroe, KBLA.
You should, yeah.
So my question is, I'm sorry. My question is really regarding HEDDA's seduction, intelligence, and power. Do you think the fact that she is so intelligent in the way that she moves and sort of manipulates ultimately sets her up for tragedy because she's too self-aware?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a sort of it's weird because she doesn't necessarily present as an emotion. She's incredibly, I think, emotionally intelligent. It requires emotional intelligence to understand how to manipulate people in the way that she in the way that she does. It is a kind of intelligence. And it's a kind of intelligence that a lot of people wield, frankly. And there are ways to wield it that are kinder, but anyone that's really good at people knows how to get. I mean, Nia is a very good example of it because she's a good director. She knows how to get the best out of people. That requires a kind of intelligence. Yeah, I think it does set her up. I think it does set her up for ultimate unhappiness. I think to view people based on what you can get out of them is probably a pretty ultimately hollow way to think about relationships.
Poor HEDDA.
Catalina Combs with Taji Magazine. My question is for both of you, but I'll start with you, Nia. There's been some conversation I've heard about whether HEDDA is considered a female empowering film, given the destructiveness, manipulativeness, and just the tragic overall image of the main characters. So I'm just wondering, what do you think?
I think we have to let go a bit of these sorts of phrases that I think are really helpful in starting conversations, but not in actually facilitating depth, like ones with depth. Like, I've never once thought about whether or not HEDDA was empowering to women. I think she's someone who what I want is for her to get people to think about their own HEDDAs inside of them, the shadows of their hearts, of their minds. What I think HEDDA is a really complex character, a really human character who hopefully facilitates introspection. And I hope you have a good time watching her, for the time where it's good. But yeah, I'm not really interested in whether it's empowering to women, because I really think, I don't know, I think women are so powerful. I feel like we are so good at finding ways to empower ourselves because we have to do that in order to feel like full people. And so I'm never trying to empower women with my work. I just think we're already kind of there. Yeah.
Oh, me? I'm so okay. Goodness. I don't know. You know what? I think it will depend on the person.
Yeah,
I've had
true.
such interesting conversations. We've had the great pleasure of taking the movie out a lot and going to receptions and having conversations with people after. And a young woman came up to me the other day and she goes, "I am such a HEDDA." And I was kind of shocked. It was like, there was something sort of fantastic about it. She was like, "I really am." She's like, she says, "Sometimes I just do things and say things and I don't really know why I'm such a HEDDA." And her uncle stood right next to her and said, "She is." She really is. And then her boyfriend was on the other side of her, and he said, yes, she is. She really is. And I just thought it was so fascinating. So clearly, I think maybe she felt empowered to be honest about a part of, and I think she seemed like a very lovely human. I think what she's talking about is just that she has a person inside of her that is not just, you know, clamoring to get out. It just appears sometimes in spite of herself. And while I don't think that all of the things that HEDDA does are admirable, I think a kind of human that feels compelled to just do what it is they want to do, like that is admirable. There's something about that that is empowering, and not just for women, just for people, full stop. Because sometimes I think we are really hemmed in by what we think we ought to do. Sometimes it's hard to even know what it is we want as people, independent of the time that we live in, the body that we exist in, the family that we exist in, you know, the experience of gender that we exist in, the experience of sexuality that we exist in, all of these particulars. So I don't know. I think I think the thing that Nia did by allowing this HEDDA, or ambiguity around whether this HEDDA lives, which is to not punish, which is not to punish her. And I think so often, particularly in Hollywood history, when women do bad things, we are punished. And that doesn't happen to men as much. They behave badly. No one's asking like if what's a
Daniel Plainview is empowering to
men. So I don't know.
I think honestly, I think for me, this also goes down to like, I think you take what you need from a thing and then leave the rest.
Yeah, that's true.
That's Thank you.
Hi, this is Reggie Ponder. Hi, Nia.
Hey, Reggie.
Good to see you guys.
Nice to see you.
She said you were the student, you looked at everything, you were interrogating everything. What were you looking for? Did you find it? And how did it help you in this performance?
Thank you so much. I tend, one of my favorite things about the job in general is research. So I always like to have, insofar as is possible with a piece of work, a period of sort of like academic inquiry into the work. So that is a component part of my process always. I love the process of research. I love what I learn about, you know, different time periods, different cultural attitudes, different perceptions, and also what I learn about myself. And then this role is such an iconic role, and so many incredible performers have played her, and people know that and have a relationship with it. And there was so much noise in my head, you know, because HEDDA is also just a noisy presence, and I sort of needed to quiet the noise by engaging head first with watching these productions. And also I was just too darn curious because I love the play, but I had never seen the play on stage. And I'm a real theater nerd. I've gone to archives just in my free time to watch productions. It's amazing. You can do it here in New York, and it's amazing. You can just see things. So I already had a relationship with doing that already, but I had never done that with Hedda Gabler. So I just thought I gotta do that and just scratch that itch. And I hope it's okay, and I hope it doesn't make me more terrified. And I and I hope someone's performance doesn't get tattooed on my brain. But I think the truth is, for what I do, you're always taking in so much, and you have to trust it's all being funneled through you, you know? And when you take on classic work like this, it belongs to everybody, you know? There might be a seminal performance here or there, but it really is, you're a part of a community. And that actually, that sense of community is so energizing to me, actually. And so that's what I found. I found how brilliant is it that we get to tell these stories, we get to knock them around for centuries, we get to still debate and argue about these pieces of work, and we get to, hopefully, if you're lucky enough, get to take them apart and repurpose them and put them back together in your own image. How amazing is that? That's the thing that I found. It just reconnected me again to what I love about stories and reminding me of the utility of them. Why do we do this? Why do we sit here and talk about them? Because they do something for us in our humanity. So that's what I found.
Wow, thank you so much. What a rich and passionate answer. Thank you.
Ladies, thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the wonderful performances, and thank you for consistently giving us work worth remembering.
Oh, thank you
so much. Thanks for
Absolutely.
means a lot.
On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, we thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.